Hey, what's up, guys? Jeff here. I'm going to talk about the Tree of Life this time, and I don't know where to begin, but I haven't thought this out that much. But Tree of Life is a film directed by Terrence Malick, who I don't think he does movies that often, but when he does, I guess it's a big deal. Um, Decades in the making. Like he's had this idea for a long time, or at least years. And it was supposed to come out last year or the year before, but it kept getting pushed back. They couldn't find a time to release it. I think the studio was probably nervous about it, which it rightfully was probably. But it released. I don't know what kind of business it did. I don't care. That's not what talking about movies is about, really. It's whether you like it or not. To me, if a movie does bad, great, or not great for them, but I still get to watch it, and I still get to turn my friends on to it. Um, but it did very positive reviews from critics. It won the Palme d'Or or some shit at Cannes Film Festival. Cannes Film Festival. There's talk about there's Best Picture talk about it, and I don't really see that happening, except that it is so unique that it could. There's no other film like this, and that's probably the best thing I could say about it. But this is total art house picture, and it's definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Just because the critics say it's great and it's the best picture of the year, blah blah blah. It probably odds are it might not be for you. Um, it's weird to explain what the movie is because the plot in it, there's not much of a plot. Basically, it's Sean Penn is this older guy. He lives in the modern day, our time, and in like I don't know where, New York, somewhere, some city. He works in a skyscraper. He's an architect, and it's him kind of looking back on his life and mostly remember being a kid, like during his formative years in the 1950s, and his mom and his dad and his siblings. That's mostly what you could call the plot for this film, but there's not really a plot. It's just him remembering stuff, and it's weird because like it starts off, with this weird voiceover of his mom talking about random shit. It's like all this weird random photography that you don't feel has much to do with anything. And then it starts a little bit like there's a little bit of story. I think there's a little bit showing of him as a kid or something. And then it goes into like this 20, at least 20 minutes, no joke, of a 2.5 hour film on top of that. But like 20 minutes of just like the universe and space and the earth forming and prehistoric age, and you see like just like you see the earth form, and then you see dinosaurs weren't the best looking dinosaurs, I don't think. The photography is really great in it, and the music is phenomenal. The sound and audio is phenomenal, and some of the images you see are just great. Even like just the weird images of the world forming, and you find out like that he used this guy. I think that worked on the special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey, and like they wanted to do it the old way where you don't use CGI, and like most of it is just really like, wow, how did they do that? It was really cool looking, but the dinosaurs are CGI. They look eh, not so good. But just like, dude, completely random. What the fuck does this have to do with anything? And then it goes back in like after literally after 20 minutes it goes back into like him as a kid, and basically like his dad is played by Brad Pitt back in the 50s. It's basically memories of him in the 50s growing up in a midwestern town and what it was like growing up, like, and just memories of his life. And his mom represents like Grace, or something. She's just nice, and his dad represents nature or something. I don't look too deeply into that, but basically his dad's a hard ass, typical old '50s dad who is very strict, authoritative, like will beat the fuck out of you for saying shit. And just remembering that, and like that's most of it. But then there is still interspersed like the weird just like weird images of shit that you don't, and then like it goes into this bizarre ending, which I won't spoil, but I'll try to talk about without spoiling. And not much of a story. It's just this is what he remembers of his life. And I'm a person. I love film, right? But most of my love for film or for books or any of that has to first start with narrative. I'm a fan of narrative. I'm a fan of stories, and this is not like the strong point of this film. The strong point is how unique it is and how artfully done it is. That's not the point here. And normally I would be against something like this. I would call it pretentious. I could totally see why someone would hate this film. If you hate this film, no complaints from me. That's fine. At the same time, I'd be lying if I said I didn't like it. I did like it. In the end, I really did like it. I just thought it was very beautiful in the way a poem is beautiful. And even poetry I prefer if it's more like making a point instead of just the flowers, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But there's just something about it here. It's just so beautifully done, so pretty. The music is great, the audio is great, and it's just glimpses into this guy's life, kind of like a stream of consciousness, glimpses into his life. And the film, you got to see it. Like the other stuff they put into it, like that 20 minutes of the universe forming and stuff, totally unnecessary, and kind of like artists getting free reign to just do shit. But I don't think it came out as shit here. I look at the film as this. It's a celebration of life on both like a micro and a macro scale. So you get to see this one little period in this guy's life, and it's celebrating it, but it's also celebrating life as a whole outside of that, which I like. I mean, and then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just liked it, and the fact is, if every film was like this, I would probably stop being a fan of movies. But it's just like, for just this once, it was cool to have that, and it's pretty much guaranteed you're never ever gonna see a movie like this. It's like telling a story of a guy's life. We're gonna tell a story about this guy's life, specifically his childhood. Except we're gonna start from the beginning of time, and we're gonna end at the end of time. So his life is only like this little thing in the middle, but we're gonna tell his life, but we're gonna put it in that on that canvas. Which is I just something about it was just very beautiful and just very unique and different, and just someone trying to do something that wasn't like everything fucking else that you see out there. Now, normally it's the type of thing, something like this, you describe that to me, and I'm like, that is fucking shit. Are you fucking kidding me? I want to see a short thriller that, tightly wound plot and, strong characters and strong storytelling, fast pace, as tightly cut as possible, and blah, blah, blah. That's normally what I like. Normally, when shit strays from that, I rail on it, but it worked here. What can I say? It worked for me here. I liked the idea of it. I liked, like, at first, this kind of sucks. And then, like, 30 minutes into it, I'm like, this would be the best fucking movie ever if I was, high as fuck, or if I was tripping balls on acid. And really, this is like the best acid movie since like The Wall. Like I can imagine you kind of being bored at parts, but it's just like you would just still be like just so wowed by the visuals of it and the music. Like it would just floor you. But just from the aside from the general idea and stuff like that, I there are things I liked. Like even if you're not a fan of this type of shit, which I'm not or whatever, but um, just from the story parts, like what little story there is of him growing up in this town, there's little pieces of universality and shit, and just little things that like well that was interesting. And one, the kid in it is very good. The guy that plays the younger version of Sean Penn, which I want to find the kid's name because he's good, man. Uh, blah blah blah. Hunter McCracken. He's good. The shit like him and Brad Pitt are very good in it. The mom is good in it, but him and Brad Pitt are very good in it. And there is a little bit of like a story of what's going on, like it, kind of at the beginning. That's what happens at the beginning before they go into creation of the universe. They find out that their oldest son died in some war, whichever war it was in the 50s, what Korea. But it's just him remember being an adolescent, him kind of bashing heads with his dad, and a lot of it is the character of his dad. But I want to stress this: the kid Hunter McCracken who plays the young Jack is very very good in it. But there's like stuff like where his dad, he wanted to be a musician, but he ended up taking this job at a factory to so he could create a family. And he feels like he's settled in life instead of going after what he wanted. And he's trying to teach his kid to be strong, and like he gets this feeling like he's wants to be strict towards him to teach him how to be strong in the world, teach him about the reality world. He has like this very cynical view of the world. That stuff is all very good. I think it's like you put it in a regular drama, it would be good. And here it's just done with all this like artsy shit around it, which is pretty cool. And just like weird shit, like his dad decides he wants to try to like sell his inventions so he could try to make something more of himself, and he goes on a business trip, and the kids are alone for one summer, and they don't have to worry about their strict dad, so they're just going wild. And Jack remembers just doing crazy shit, like they're like harming animals, like they blow up a frog with a firecracker. It's suggested that they kill a stray dog. If someone disagrees with that, let me know, but I think it's suggested they kill a stray dog. There's one part where he sneaks into a neighbor's house. I thought it was his mom's room, but I guess he sneaks into a neighbor's house, and he steals a girl's dress out of her dresser, and I think he jerks off on it, and he like runs with the dress to the forest and throws her dress in the river. Not saying I've done any of these things, but there's some sort of like specificness to this I think could apply to most. Like you do stupid things when you're a kid, right? And you're like learning shit about life, and there's just something about it that was interesting. And then there's more with his when his dad comes back, and more stuff happens with his dad that I don't want to give away, but I found it interesting. Like I found it pretty damn cool. And then when you put it in this larger scope of like other shit, which you don't need for this movie, but that's what makes this movie different. That's what made it win the awards and what the critics like went wild about. Would it be my pick for film of the year? No, mine is probably still either Drive or Attack the Block. I'm trying to decide. Or I Saw the Devil. I would still give it as this year, but would it be my top 10? Probably, actually. Strangely enough, and I don't know. I feel weird about it, but I can't lie. I liked it. I think it's so unique that it's going to be one of those movies that stand out from this year. I wouldn't give it a full five, but definitely I'd probably get it 4 out of 5 stars. You got to give it a shot. It's either going to be for you or it's not. I wouldn't give up in the first 30 minutes because if you do, you're like, that was the worst thing ever. But, anyways, that's my thoughts, man. Let me know what you thought of it.